to join hands with us to defend the dream and vision demonstrated so far by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration, by the creation of Ministry of Steel Development with the intent to give direct focus to this strategic sector that will become the bedrock of industrialization of the Nigeria's economy, from some predator swimming in gross impunity and abuse of office. We all know how this sector has been moribund, how it has been used as cash cow for some enemies of our national interest, because we all have the history of Ajaokuta behind our mind, and up to date, that sector has got so much billions in dollars. Today, there is no results to show for it. The attention of the Alliance Credible Legislative Conduct has been drawn to the case of monumental disobedience of the presidential order on dissolution of board by the Ministry of Steel Development, which flagrantly disregarded the directive of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SGF, Senator George Akume, as it pertained to the dissolution of board of parastatals. Specifically, on the 16th of June 2023, in a circular signed by Willie Bassi, Director Information on behalf of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, President Bola Tinubu approved the dissolution of all boards of the federal government, parastatal agency, institution, and government-owned companies, except those listed in the third schedule, Part 1, Section 153, Subsection 1 of the 99th Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. If you check the book, the leaflet we have with you, at the back of it, this is a copy of what that was released from the office of the SSG, directing many of these boards to be dissolved. And Mr. President issued a presidential order. And this presidential order is an order that has the backing of the Act of the Parliament, giving the Mr. President the discretionary power to issue laws and ultimatum to galvanize, wage war, and revamp to make sure his administration is successful. To our greatest dismay today, some people in the office of the Minister of Steel Development today has not been able to carry out that order, meaning Mr. President doesn't know what he's doing. This is an affront to Nigerian Constitution and to the people of Nigeria. It is now high time for Mr. President to know and check within his cabinet that some people that refuse to carry out the order of the Mr. President to make sure Nigerians are gaining from the Renew Hope agenda, they are all called enemy within. They are worse than people in the opposition. We, in the Alliance for Credible Legislative Conduct, we will not sleep and be looking at the law that are meant to serve the benefit of Nigerian people and not follow to the letter. Recent findings shows that the National Steel Council was among the bodies dissolved by the above extraordinary presidential order, as it is clearly not among those commissioned and council listed in the Constitution, and therefore not exempted from that sweeping directive by the Mr. President. We have equally discovered that the National Steel Council is not only a parastatal under the definition of the Public Service Rule, but a policy-making body that set operational and administrative policy in accordance with the government policies and supervise the implementation of such policies. looking closely at the setting up of the council, showed glaringly that the council received order from the minister in line with the policy direction, and these policies are to be implemented by the executive secretary and his team that is statutorily empowered to execute the policy and run the council on daily basis, while the minister superintended the council on behalf of the presidency that appointed them. The same Mr. President by law that appointed the council and issued an express order, executive order, that this body should be dissolved, expected to be carried out by the president, because the law says once a presidential order has been given for dissolution of anybody, that particular sector will be operating through the office of the SGF that has the ear of the Mr. President. And if you know you are not ready to carry out the presidential order, the executive arm of government, you have the authority and the power to stand up and say, Mr. President, I cannot work with this order. You have the window to do what? To resign. And if you cannot resign as an appointee of the president, enjoying the mandate given to the president by the Nigerian people is an affront to the well-being of the Nigerian society. We will not watch it live. We must definitely talk about it. So it is now high time for the Mr. President to call on the ministry, the Minister of State Development in Nigeria, to carry out that order and let the SGF take the action. We are abundantly constrained to inform Nigerian people today about the utter disrespect to the order of President Tinubu, high level of indiscipline, sheer irresponsibilities, and administrative rascalities, being extremely exhibited by the leadership of the council about the acquaintance of Prince Shaudu Abubakar Audu in the periphery of the National Steel Council. Should we not say the minister is aiding and abetting? Should we say the minister is not ready to work in line with the order of the Mr. President? Or should we say the council is bigger than the minister? Or should we not say he has that impetus not to show respect to the office of the SGF? These are what we have come to terms with in this government. And if we feel that development will come, changes will come, Nigeria will benefit from this democracy, every appointee of the Mr. President must adhere strictly to the order of the Mr. President. Not until another order comes from the Mr. President dissolving or cancelling the initial order he has been given. And from our intelligence report and from what we have researched, no such order has come from Mr. President. No order has come from Mr. President to cancel the initial order. We hereby condemn in the strongest term the deliberate, cultivated, masculine statutory law against established provision or rule guiding the National Steel Council, and using this medium to call on the SGF, Senator George Akume, to enforce the presidential order on board without exception beyond a logical posture of the Minister of Steel Development. The Alliance for Credible Legislature Conduct expressed our disgust and disappointment with the Prince Shaibu Abubakar Audu's skepticism and inaction towards abuse of power in the National Steel Council. Under his supervision, a very sad development which run counter to President's orders, determination to reserve the obvious issue of steel development in Nigeria in the past 4 decades for a renewed hope agenda that is committed to assiduously use steel development to revamp the Nigerian economy. It is, my heart bleeds, and I felt so dismayed, bad, perturbed, and regret that Nigeria, with a clear vision of discovering that beautiful mineral resource that can help us be a nation. Germany, Russia, today become one of the giant best in the world because of steel. They can manufacture, they can produce engines, they can produce machineries to develop their nation, while we have bundle of joy being stampeded by some set of charlatans. Prince Audu only complicated issue as a recent fact-finding committee is set up failed woefully to exhibit competence in conflict resolution by concluding his biased work without inviting disputing parties involved in the dispute to hear their side of the story, which is fundamentally against the law of natural justice. We are talking about failure to carry out the presidential order. You are inviting some bodies to come and investigate matter in the same body that has been dissolved by law, and you are not doing it diligently by looking at the both sides of the people that are actually principal actors in such matter, but you decided to carry out an investigation with who, by who, and for who. Is that what we are talking about? You cannot build something on nothing. This is diversionary. Let us even look about the issue of looking at the matter that they want to investigate. Is it not fair enough to get involved the people that are part of the issue and let them speak to the truth, speak to the matter, then you can see this is how you want to go into the matter. One of the problems we have in Nigeria is because we have a high level of injustice. No country strives in the midst of injustice. Every action will definitely call for what? Reaction. For you to have a good country where peace reigns, there must be fairness, equity, justice, and balance. The act setting of this council states clearly the role of the council and that of the executive secretary, and in a situation where the act is silent, public service rule take preeminence. Interestingly, we also discover the issue of dual office accommodations. It is our position that this vital matter must be looked into objectively, as parochial individuals cannot seek to waste government resources at this period of our economy turbulence. It might interest you to know that the available record indicates that the board had infancy given series of approval for vehicle, furnishing, and office accommodation, where money were paid following the Bureau of Public Procurement (BPP) and the requisite accounting process. However, some individuals within the council that seems ignorant of extant financial regulation sought to fraudulently circumvent standard procedure, undesirably pretending further and unnecessary expenditure that will duplicate government expenses on office accommodation and furnishing with matter Minister Abubakar Audu failed to recognize. You see, when you are given an opportunity to oversee or given power to direct an affairs, and some high level of impunity, some high level of gross misconduct are passing through your office, and you are looking the other way around, it's either you are part of it or you are low skilled. You don't have the capacity to be in that office. It's either of the two. We cannot continue to be talking about wasting of our common resources at this moment. It is not only when you stop government functionary traveling abroad that you are blocking leakages. With that traveling out of the country, there are a lot of leakages in this country that the government functionaries, appointees of the government, they look other way. Are they beneficiaries? Are they beneficiaries? That is the question we ask them. Because every paper passed through their table. We also uncover other gross violation and abuse by the National Steel Council as follows. Gross violation of BPP provisions and Procurement Act during its second meeting held on Friday 28th of August 2023 at the Grand Ibro Hotel, Wuse Zone 5, Abuja, where the council approved monetary threshold above the government stipulated threshold, which it did not have authority to do so. On the 9th of February 2023, the council, without the due consent of the minister, who is supposed to be the regulator, attempted to spend outside the budgetary provision and against the rule of procurement by attempting to open an account with Taj Bank with this sole purpose of taking loan to buy cars for officials, which is also openly outside the financial regulation regarding their entitlements, and also breach of extant financial regulation of the federal government under the guideline of the operations of the Treasury Single Account (TSA) policy of the federal government. This attempted contravention gave foundation to the conflict within the council. The abuse of office of the National Steel Council and the refusal of the youthful minister to nip this embarrassing issue in the board is a clear indication of incompetence, which simply means that Prince Abubakar Audu, whose ministry just concluded an otherwise laudable ministerial retreat with visible objects, is unwisely tolerant of what now makes him a real clause in the wheel of President Tinubu's dream to steal development in Nigeria. Patiently, the duo of Senator George Akume and Prince Shuaibu Abubakar Audu should without delay put to rest the evident impunity and stark disobedience of presidential order on board, retrace their steps to curb the taboo going on at the National Steel Council and allow due process, transparency to prevail by calling the board to order. Finally, we call on the ministry, especially its resident anti-corrupt unit, to exercise their statutory duties without undue sensationalism on allegation for financial infractions to the tune of 1 billion naira, which almost equals to budget of the National Steel Council in 2023. While the ministry muster the courage to do the necessary, the National Assembly, which is saddled with the oversight function, should perhaps immediately look into the abnormal situation at the National Steel Council and handle it accordingly. This is sad when the integral part of democracy, the strongest pillar of democracy, is the legislative arm of government. They make the law. The office of the Mr. President, the head of the executive arm of government, is a creation of the law.